Yo, what is up everyone? So in this video, we are going to be talking about the support Pokemon that are currently confirmed for Pokemon Scarlet Violet. So if you guys don't know, obviously this is going to include leaks. So my recommendation, if you don't want to be spoiled, is obviously to not watch this video. But if you choose to, then you're obviously getting spoiled. So obviously some of these might not be correct because obviously it is a leak. So it is unreliable because we don't know the full game yet. But it is important, obviously, to talk about these things just so that we can kind of get an idea of what stuff is going to look like come Scarlet Violet. So I just want to talk about a little bit like what I thought about the supporters in this particular format because obviously there are going to be some like key mons that kind of allow you to kind of enable your terrestrializing, your attackers, and like that's kind of like a unique thing that obviously we're gonna have to get used to. But I'm gonna kind of break it up into categories so we can kind of talk about what Pokemon will be relevant within each category, and then we'll kind of go through it one by one from there. So let me actually create a couple of these. This could be a national dex only because it lets me use like every Pokemon. So, all right. So first, our first category is going to be redirection. So we're going to be talking about like all the Pokemon that can kind of redirect in this format. This is pretty important usually just for kind of enabling your attackers. Obviously this can be on some offensive mons, but typically if something is fake out, it's usually more of a supportive option as well. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? So going into our redirection, let's actually skim the list. So Venomoth is our first kind of redirector. So there's actually a big thing to note is there's no Butterfree in the format. So what Venomoth has going for it is quite literally only Shield Dust, which is where you can't get faked out, right? So like you get a free Sleep Powder, right? And obviously you can go for Rage Powders too, of course. But more so like you can't get faked out before you go for a Sleep Powder. Now, obviously, I would probably say that Venomoth won't be the premier one, but it's just worth noting. Okay, so second, Pavilion is another one that I thought was pretty notable. So the reason why I think Pavilion's pretty notable, so it also gets shielded. So actually, yeah, Venomoth just sucks. No reason to use Venomoth. Either use Pavilion with Shield Dust or Compound Eyes, depending on what you want. Compound Eyes probably if you want to avoid the risk. It is quite literally just a better Butterfree. Butterfree obviously was in previous formats. Let's take a look at its stats real quick. Okay, so literally Butterfree has a special attack of 90. Pavilion has a special attack of 90. Butterfree has like a bit more bulk, but like Butterfree dies to everything anyway. So Pavilion straight up is just a better Butterfree, right? Now the interesting thing, right, with Pavilion too is that you obviously get the Compound Eyes Hurricane, which is really nice. You also get the you can use Pollen Puff if it does get it. We actually don't know yet because it hasn't really been in a future game yet. It does not get Rage Powder. Now that's actually oh, I thought I got Rage Powder. Okay, so then Venomoth and Pavilion are not the same. I completely lied to you. So then, yeah, Venomoth would probably be the more premier one, unless it does get Rage Powder, and then we discover that. So yeah, Rage Powder, Sleep Powder, that would probably be the thing for Venomoth. In terms of other redirectors, let's take a look. No, none here. None here. Okay, Jumpluff is another one. So Jumpluff, now what sets Jumpluff apart, I think it makes it pretty unique, is it's obviously gonna have a similar kit with like the fast Sleep Powder, but it's like very, very fast Sleep Powder. And it can run Infiltrator, it can run Chlorophyll. I think it's probably going to be used on its own if it's used at all with Infiltrator, mostly just because it gets around Substitute. Obviously you can do some stuff that way, and it gets access to like a couple of other moves, Encore, Leech Seed. Like I would probably say those two are like the main ones I can really think of. Not even Leech Seed, like probably just Encore. It does get like Reflect, which is fine, I guess, and it does get Shrink Sap. Shrink Sap's probably the most relevant out of all of it. You could also run Grass Coverage on it theoretically, right? Anyway, so like it's a fast redirector. It's pretty decent speed tier. I'm gonna actually lower this down to level 50 so we can put in comparison for most of you VGC brain people. Its speed tier actually allows it to outspeed like some key things. It ties with Raichu in this specific case, but it does outspeed most of the other threats in the metagame, right? So like let's take a look. It outspeeds Arcanine, it ties with Gengar, like it outspeeds Garchomp wherever Garchomp is, right? It outspeeds like a couple of the other faster mons. So like for this specific metagame, like I can actually see being really good. The only two main things that really outspeed it, Dragapult, it ties with a few other mons, and then there are some cases with Scarf, I guess, and stuff like that. Okay, so other redirections. Take a look. Scroll down. Lucario used to get follow me and Pachirisu used to get follow me. If Furt's not in the decks, they're absolutely screwed. They will not be able to redirect unless Furt's in the decks. And as we know now, it is not. So Pachirisu would not be running it back. Let's see. Here, Amoongus. So hold on 2 seconds. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so Amoongus is probably the best redirector in this format. Obviously, it's Amoongus. Now, Amoongus gets access to Spore, right, which is 100% accurate sleep move. Rage Powder, then it can run a coverage move of Sludge Bomb, or it can run a coverage move of Giga Drain, or whatever other grass move it wants. Obviously, these are going to be very crucial aspects to Amoongus remaining relevant. I don't really see it benefiting off of terrestrialization much, but like that's not really its point. I could definitely see it enabling like some big terrestrialized mons, right? So to me, like Amoongus is definitely like a no-brainer as like a really good support option in this format. So especially for redirection, right? Volcarona. So Volcarona is also another redirector as well. It can obviously use Rage Powder. Now, what makes Volcarona unique is it's actually not like the others. It doesn't really have Sleep Powder, it doesn't have Spore, but it is Fire and Bug. So you can obviously play around a bit more with the redirection, use it for different things. That being said, I'm not actually sure how viable Volcarona will be. It's kind of weird because I would say that like Volcarona doesn't match up well into stuff like Garchomp. It doesn't match up well into like some other things. Like even Dragapult it probably doesn't match up that well into. But then there are also some other mons that just like absolutely dumpsters. So for example, like Bisharp, like even into opposing like Scizor, which I could see being good. Sylveon, you know, Corviknight, like all these mons that you could kind of expect to at least be a semi-threat. So to me, like I wouldn't be surprised to see them at least get some kind of use. Okay, we keep going through our redirectors. What else we got? Nothing here. Nothing here. I'm like triple checking just to make sure I don't mislead you guys. And then finally we have Indeedee over here. So Indeedee, besides Amoongus, obviously the premier redirector, right? Psychic Surge plus like redirections like really crazy actually. If I were to rank like the like levels I think that they work, or at least like how splashable they are, I'd probably put Amoongus 1, Indeedee 2, Volcarona 3, Jumpluff 4, and then like Venomoth like 5. In terms of like how relevant I think they are, like how much you can use them. Now, really important thing with Indeedee as well is it blocks like, you know, obviously priority moves. That's like a really big deal for Indeedee. Indeedee just gets kind of a lot of pressure in that way. And to me, that's like a pretty valuable thing it can provide, right? It gives you a very like strong way to put pressure on the opponents and to really, you know, not allow them to slow down your whatever you're trying to follow me, right? Because sometimes if you're running like follow me, for example, right, and like they can just go around your partner, like they could fake out your partner, or they could like do something else, but like Psychic Surge shuts that down, and like we've already seen it's pretty good, right? Okay, so to my knowledge, that's it for the redirectors. So that was like kind of the first topic I want to touch on. So now we've gone over redirection. So next one I want to talk about was specifically Tailwind speed control, and then we're going to do Trick Room. Tailwind slash... I should actually make a box for this. So we'll do Tailwind slash Trick Room. I'm only going to mention the ones I think are good, by the way, just so you guys know. Okay, so Tailwind and Trick Room. So these are like your main speed control mons, right? These are the mons that are going to be providing like kind of stronger ways to establish some kind of speed advantage, whether it be Trick Room or Tailwind. Go over the Tailwinders first just to keep it like streamlined. So I'm going to go under the assumption that Tailwind's not a teach move. If Tailwind is a teach... Actually, no, I'm going to go under the assumption it is a teach move. Otherwise, like we're going to have like no Tailwinders. So let's see. Does Venomoth get Tailwind? I don't think it's good, by the way, but just curious. Okay, yeah. So this is good to know. So, all right. Let's scroll through. No Tailwind, no Tailwind, no Tailwind, no Tailwind. Or like no Tailwind that's good. Not really good. Not really good. Not really good. Yeah, Tailwind's kind of lacking in this metagame. But finally, Pelipper. Okay, so Pelipper is obviously going to be a big Tailwinder. I could definitely see it being a big player in like Rain, right? I would definitely say like Rain would probably be the main like a place where you'd probably see Pelipper. Obviously, being able to go for Tailwinds is really crucial. You know, obviously there are some Rain abusers in this format, so definitely be like a very useful mon in that regard. All right, Tailwind. So Salamence doesn't naturally learn it. I think it learns it from a tutor. If Salamence gets it, it could be relevant. Driftblim. So Driftblim's a good one. Driftblim does learn Tailwind. Now the problem with Driftblim is like I think it literally would only work with like in DD male, and I say work very sparingly. But honestly, we're so starved for Tailwind setters, it's worth bringing up. So I think Braviary also naturally gets Tailwind. I actually should probably double check that before I say that. Braviary learn set. Or I should do Braviary Generation 8 learn set. It does learn Tailwind naturally, so that's actually a pretty good one. Braviary I could definitely see being good, actually. I actually think it really benefits off of Terrestrialization because you can literally use it on its flying type coverage. It does not really miss its normal typing whatsoever for the most part, so you can kind of take advantage of that when you're using Braviary. So I could definitely see that being really strong. Talonflame, obviously, probably going to be semi-relevant in terms of a Tailwind setter. You still get the priority Gale Wings, which is something you can't ignore. I definitely say it's like worse. It's definitely not like the best, but you know, it's relevant enough. You know, it's worth bringing up. All right, Tailwind. Noivern as well gets it. So normally I wouldn't talk about Noivern because Noivern's kind of like, you know, just a poopy mon. That being said, though, in this format, like I said, so starved for Tailwinders, I actually feel like you might actually be desperate enough to use Noivern. Not even desperate enough, because like in this game, I'm kind of convinced the dragon types are gonna be really good unless we get like more fairies confirmed, because there are so many dragons that are like really strong. So I could definitely see like dragons kind of dominating, which means inherently like Noivern's coverage with like Draco Meteor would be better, and its status is like a fast dragon is definitely not bad, right? So it's just some stuff to keep in mind. For other Tailwinders, Corviknight's the main other one I really want to talk about, because Corviknight to me is like a very solid Pokemon, right? Obviously, it has a lot of good defensive bulk. You could take like any dragon moves pretty well. Like it also has really good stats, so it can kind of just live, and like it has Roost, right? So you could do like Tailwind Roost stuff. You could also just go like bulk up Corv, which is kind of more so what I might expect, but I could definitely see like it being used with Tailwind, right? Okay, and then we continue here, and I mean, if any of the Kanto birds get included, that'll probably be something. Tornadus would be good, but we're gonna go under the assumption that like it's not gonna be legal, right? For now, at least. They may be legal later on. We actually don't know, but it seems like for the most part they will not, and I say that very sparingly. So that's kind of our Tailwinders. Now to go over our Trick Rumors, okay? So this is our speed control Tailwind so far. Now to go over Trick Room, right? So first off, we have the Slowbro, Slowking. I could maybe see them being okay, but I feel like the problem that they might encounter is just like being like too passive, especially in a terrestrialization format. So I'm gonna leave one of them there, but like you guys can assume that it's both. Gengar is a Trick Room setter. I'm not really convinced on. I feel like Gengar just might be more of an attacker, but I guess it is worth noting, you know, obviously as we're going through. Okay, continuing on. I don't see this being a good Trick Room setter. Let's see. Continue. Not really any good Trick Room setters here. Did I miss any? No. Oh, Bronzong finally. Okay, there we go. I was like starving for a good Trick Room setter. Okay. So Bronzong's a really solid option. I think Bronzong will definitely be a really good Trick Room setter, mostly because of its typing. I think it'll work better on balanced teams. Also too, interesting thing with Bronzong, since it usually runs Body Press, Iron Defense, Trick Room, Protect, you could probably do Fighting type Terrestrialization on it, and like that also still has the immunity with Levitate, and it also covers for like its Dark weakness, right? So you could like snipe Dark types with a Bronzong that otherwise would be really pressured by a lot of mons. All right, so let's continue through. Any Trick Rumors in chat? All right, Florges is worth noting only because, like I said, we're so starved for Trick Rumors. Plus, it seems like one of the only decent fairies. Now, a lot of you guys may be like, okay, but like, why would Florges be good, right? Now, I don't know about its ability. Hopefully they give it some kind of buff. But if you look at these stats, like they're actually like not the worst. You know what I mean? Like they're workable. Also, too, like you can run like a Calm Mind Florges. You can do something like that. And like this is a format where we want to have Tapu Fini. It'll probably be strictly outclassed by Sylveon in terms of like the Calm Mind role. But I could see this being like more of a balance option over Hatterene, because it has like more natural bulk than Hatterene does, plus like you can kind of EV it to be more of like a kind of neutral speed mon, as opposed to Hatterene being like you have to have Trick Room up to really get value out of it, right? So continuing on, we're gonna go to, I believe, Mimikyu. I'm gonna skip over Carbink. I think Carbink is just bad. Mimikyu. So Mimikyu obviously is a really reliable Trick Room setter. You really, if you have Mental Herb, like they actually can't really stop your setup if you have a redirection on top of that. If let's say that you have like, you know, obviously a Mimikyu that gets like hit by 2 spread moves, like yes, you could theoretically lose it, but that's very specific. So for the most part, right, Mimikyu is obviously able to capitalize off of this stuff. So Mimikyu is definitely a really solid mon. I think it'll be a good Trick Room setter, especially in the new games. Okay, continuing on. Let's see. Hatterene, we had to talk about it. We knew it was coming. Hatterene, obviously a really, really solid Trick Room mon, but it literally is only a good Trick Roomer when it's on a hard Trick Room team, right? So to me, right, Hatterene is going to be very more so case specific, whereas, you know, some of the other mons might be a bit more like splashable. So like to me, when I look at this, the main mons that I see being splashable for Trick Room on like balanced teams are Mimikyu and Bronzong and Florges, maybe. Slowbro, I'm not too sure about. I guess you could get a Fire Water Grass Core out of it, but you know, obviously that has its own problems. So I'm kind of mixed on that, but like definitely Mimikyu, definitely Bronzong. This will be good on hard Trick Room for sure. I think it'll probably be a staple on it. And then Florges might kind of be like in that middle ground where like it works on some teams, right? Okay, so we've made some progress here. You know, obviously we're continuing on. So we've talked about speed control and we've talked about redirection. So what we're missing now is some fake outers, right? Now, obviously fake out is a really key aspect of the competitive game. It's important for cycling your fake outs, kind of slowing down your opponent and kind of playing into boosting your momentum a bit more by not allowing your opponent to do what they want. So first off, we have Raichu. Raichu, obviously the first one on that list that's fake out that I think is actually relevant. I wouldn't really give it to Berserker. I don't think Berserker is good, or Persian. But Raichu actually has some cool tools that you could potentially take advantage of on some teams. So I could definitely see this being something that's actually really good. Fast fake out, you know, obviously you get the Volt Switch, you get the Thunderbolt, you get some stuff. So not the worst. Continuing on in our search for fake out. Weavile. Okay, so Weavile. I do not think Weavile is going to be like phenomenal, but it could be have a niche on certain teams. Obviously, the fast ice dark coverage does cover a lot of different threats within the metagame, specifically dragon types is more so what I'm thinking about. And the dark types obviously let you hit the random psychic mons or the ghost mons, whatever's around. Realistically, do I see Weavile being like a top tier threat? No. Do I see fake out support being very valuable in a format where there's very little fake out? Yes. So continuing on. Any good fake outers? Nope. Oh, Hariyama. I almost forgot about Hariyama and Sableye. These are actually two very notable ones in my opinion. These are the ones that I actually see being a bit more relevant. So Sableye is obviously a really good disruptive Pokemon. So to me, like I was always going to expect Sableye to be like one of the more relevant like prankster fake outers, especially because you get fast Will-O-Wisp. You know, you get obviously like Quash. You get like stuff that disrupts the opponents. Hariyama as well. Like Hariyama is a super bulky offensive mon. Like people don't really know this because like it was really only played in like 2017, but this mon in like regional decks is like an actual monster. If you give it Flame Orb and like Guts, and then you have like, you know, the boosted, I almost said Thick Fat for some reason, but the boosted Guts close combat, it actually goes like so hard. It can do so much damage. And like we put it at level 50 so you guys can like truly understand like how strong this thing is. It could just do like 1 billion damage. Like this is a big chunk of damage, like if especially because most are going to be like max adamant, right? Or like they'll be like somewhere around that range. The attack itself gets boosted by 1.5, right? So this is already giving it like a 250-ish range, no, probably like 240-ish range attack stat. And then obviously you have close combat, which is super powered up anyways, so it's just like really strong. I could definitely see it being like super strong and do a bunch of damage in the format. Sableye obviously more of the supportive route. Okay, continuing on. All right, fake out. Oh, we really are struggling on the fake out train, dude. There are not as many fake outers as there have been in previous formats, actually. I think Pokemon just really hates fake out. Grim is worth noting. So like I'm not the most convinced that Grim's gonna be good in regional decks, but I could definitely see it being good. So to me, like fast, like Grimmsnarl could definitely use up fake out. Like it definitely could take advantage of that tool, right? So to me, like I could see Grimmsnarl being really solid because of its use of fake out. And realistically, right, like it is a prankstermon as well. So like you can fake out, chain that with like fast Thunderwave. You can change that with fast other support moves. It could definitely be really annoying. So I could see Grim like doing some stuff in that way. All right, so we talked about fake out, we talked about redirection, we talked about speed control. Now, what else have we not talked about yet? Guys, I will let you guess. 3, 2, 1, okay. So, I mean, key thing, part of any metagame is always going to be the weather setters, right? Now, you could choose, or you know, if you want to view the weather setters as supporters or not. That really depends. But for the most part, they are actually going to be, you know, kind of that support. We're going to be kind of focused on that support, right? Like that's just the main thing. So it is worth noting that, like, you know, which mons are going to be setting the weather. So Pelipper obviously is one. Rest in peace, Politoed. Politoed is gone. So we will not have a Politoed setting the weather. Then we have Tyranitar. Tyranitar also another weather setter. And then you finally have Torkoal. So quite honestly, we got like most of the weather setters. We only really lost Politoed. Everything else we've already had before, and like, yeah, I feel like they're all like pretty strong in their own right. Losing Gigalith obviously doesn't really matter because Tyranitar was always going to be better, and then losing Politoed, I would say for the most part doesn't matter, only because Pelipper is probably the better rain partner anyways with the swift swimmers that are in the decks. So to me, like, this isn't really too much of like a crazy shakeup, right? Like these are the guys that you would expect to be at the top of the weather chain anyways. So to me, that's like kind of the main deal. So yeah, so obviously in this video, we've covered over the different things that we think are going to be relevant within the game. Now, if I had to tell you the Pokemon that I specifically thought we're going to see a lot of play, this would be my list. So I'm going to cut this down. These 2, these 3. Boom. 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 Gone. There we go. So like, yeah, I'm narrowing it down to like the ones I think are actually gonna be seen the most. There you go. So I narrowed it down to like 3 for each, right? So to me, like these will probably be the best for every single kind of thing I pointed out, right? Obviously I want to talk about the other ones because it was important, but yeah, obviously here, you know, you have your main redirectors, Amoonguss, Indeedee, and Volcarona. Main tailwinders, Pelipper, Corviknight, Braviary. Main trick roomers, Bronzong, probably more splashable. Mimikyu, probably more splashable. Hatterene on hard trick room. Sableye, just really good splashable support prankstermon. Grimmsnarl, splashable support prankstermon, and it also gets fake out. You know, same with Sableye. And then, you know, fake out that probably wants to operate on trick room teams, but could probably operate on other teams as well. And then finally, you know, you have the weather setters, which we already know and like love. So to me, like for the most part, like this meta, I would say, like a lot of these mons we've seen before, we haven't seen them intersect in the same way in terms of a regional decks that they have before. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how this operates. This does give me a very like similar vibe to Sword and Shield though, because we do have like, you know, obviously Arcanine, we have Gastro, you know, we have some of those main options that you're kind of used to seeing. So to me, like it's definitely like a bit of a departure, but not like too far of a departure from what we're used to. So definitely has me very excited. You know, obviously no Incineroar, no Rillaboom, so we're gonna kind of lose the fake out chain cycling. I mean, realistically, if we look at it, like fake out probably took the biggest hit because it lost a little Impersion, it lost Incineroar, it lost Rillaboom. So like fake out wars are kind of gonna cut down a little bit besides like a few of the fake outers, which I'm okay with that because it turns it into more of like a scarce commodity or like resource, which means it's more valuable on the right teams. So to me, that's like, okay, but yep. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what other kind of topics you guys would like me to cover in the future. Obviously make sure to check out Patreon, make sure to like, subscribe, check out the comments, all that helps. And also check out coaching if you guys would like to improve your skills with me one-on-one. So, also too guys, make sure to leave your comments down below of like what, you know, videos you'd like to see me do next, because this video was quite literally an idea from the comments. I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool idea. Like, I'll do it. So make sure to let me know in the comments what videos you guys would like to see. As always, incredibly appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.